Welcome to another episode of Soccerheads New England. I'm Dave Rattigan, the only sane person in the room. Dale Lawrence is our engineer. Hi, Dale.
Hey, how you doing, Dave?
Doing well. We got Paul Nardizzi and Jim Ruberti. They're my co-hosts. They're to my left and to my right. They're both diehard fans on multiple levels of soccer. Both have coached. Both are former college players. Both have kids that play soccer. We should say, however, that they were college players, Dale, a long time ago. Jim and Paul played so far back that the shorts were really, really, really short back then. The shorts were so short. How short were they, Dale?
How short were they, Dave?
Many college players couldn't have children for several years afterwards.
Many would conclude about a man's sexuality today if someone wore those shorts. Would you agree?
Moving on.
They would be wrong in my case, but they would conclude that.
They would conclude that?
Yes, I am a father of 4 boys, but
Yes.
4 boys.
Yeah.
Mine were easy because my jockstrap was an acorn and 2 rubber bands.
All right. That's more than I wanted to know about either one of you. I'm sorry I brought it up. I should have never opened that window. Anyway, check us out at soccerheadsnewengland.com. We've got a Facebook page, Soccerheads New England. You can email us at soccerheadsnewengland@gmail.com. If you like us, share us. And today we've got quite a podcast. We're not going to say whether or not Shalrie Joseph was supposed to be on as our interview or not. All we're going to say is Paul's not setting up any more interviews for us.
I'd like to list a few people that since we can't get the people that I say are coming on, let me at least say the people who aren't.
All right, who is
Okay, Tom Brady won't be coming on.
He won't be coming on?
No. Trump, Putin.
Putin's not going to come
Troy
on?
Aikman won't be coming on.
Why did Putin cancel?
I'm having a hard time getting these dignitaries.
Well, you know
Why?
Because they do my podcast.
I am wondering.
They do my podcast Tuesday. They figure Soccerhead New England, Soccerheads New England.
It's
they think
redundant.
I already did it.
I'm going to keep the guest secret from now on.
Yeah, that's
Just
a good
leave your
idea.
phone on Mondays, and when someone calls, I'll say, that's my guy.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I had questions prepared for him.
He's a great guy. I'm sure he'll circle back.
You know him? Oh, your son.
don't know.
Your
My
son,
son knows him.
played for him.
Yeah.
Okay. Which one?
Bryant.
Okay, so Bryant played for
I
him.
coached against him in a club game.
You coached against him?
His club was called Shalrie Joseph FC. Mine was not called Paul Nardizzi FC. That would not have attracted many players.
What was yours called?
Red Devils, after Man U. That's Jim's team.
The team
the Red
that's
Devils.
Get knocked out.
think-
Thanks for the reminder.
I think one of these days we should just sit down and think about what would be the best name for your future teams that you coach.
To lure young players.
To lure young players.
It would be Instagram FC for sure. That would lure the young kids over.
TikTok.
Yeah.
TikTok friends.
How about no running FC? Would that do it for today's young soccer player?
That might help. But we have plenty to talk about. The world of soccer is booming right now with everything going on. So
It is.
We have plenty to talk about.
Good. And am I correct to say that you've got a story for us that you found that is so unbelievable that we may not believe it?
Yes.
From the
once
wide
again.
world of soccer. Once again, you've got something at the end for us. Great. But first, this is Paul's favorite part of the show, plugs.
Have you seen his haircut? Speaking of plugs, have you seen Paul's haircut today? Boy, if you people could see this thing, I almost feel bad.
I have a short haircut. You can leave me alone.
It looks, you
Guys,
look
gotta-
like a Brussels sprout when you take your hat off.
Oh, those are healthy for you.
I would expect nothing less from Paul. He's a very health conscious individual, everybody. So, sorry, Dave, go right ahead. It's got to be funnier than this.
Yeah. I want to talk about something a lot more serious, a lot more important than you two. Soccerheads New England is sponsored by financial advisor Rick Spencer. Take down this number, 978-857-7573. Rick speaks at free seminars for soccer clubs, youth leagues, and the public. He'll help get your kid into college, athlete or not. Rick's also my financial advisor, and because of him, I sleep soundly at night on a bed of gold coins. That's right, Jim. Cha-ching, ching-ching, ching-ching. You know what that is? You know what that noise is?
The one's
Ching-ching.
falling out of your crack?
No. That's me rolling over at night,
close
readjusting my position.
I was close.
Ching,
It
ching, ching.
should be noted that's the only gold in his room because there are no trophies.
I'm not somebody who throws his.
We still have not seen the
We have
trophies.
not
they're
seen
in-
the award for the award-winning journalist.
I've got them in my room. on my closet. I'm not big on flaunting it in front of people.
No,
without
I know
trophies.
that, but it's funny that when Jim and I go over to your place to look at them, you won't let us in. So
That's not the reason I don't let you in.
can we talk outside, guys? No, we need to get in there, Dave.
Dave.
You know what happened to me last time? This has got nothing to do with soccer, but we were talking about Nardizzi the squirrel?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
hold on. I'm never going to get back
All
to
right,
this.
go back to
I got to get back to Rick's plug.
Let's finish up.
Have Rick come speak to your club team, league, or group, or check out one of his free seminars in your area. Call him at 978-857-7573, 978-857-7573. If Rick ever listens to a podcast, we're going to be in a lot of trouble because of you two. Also, if your organization needs to raise money and you want to have a great time doing it, you should hire the Soccerheads Experience. It's more than a comedy show. It's an event that your community will never forget with soccer-themed humor and giveaways and all kinds of extras. Want to make money and have fun? Email Jim Ruberti at soccerheadsnewengland@gmail.com. So here's my Nardizzi the squirrel.
Tax season for Rick as well. I know we avoid it's not stated in there, but Rick does my taxes as well.
Yes.
So he is a tax guy. And
He is.
now that it's March, tax season's coming up in April, give him a call. He is excellent. I've
Yeah.
only been audited 3 times.
Can I claim you guys as dependents on my taxes? Because
Dave claims me as a dependent with all the shows he books me. So he claims me as a dependent.
Rick actually just saved. He's doing my mother's taxes. Finally, I got her to go with him and not with who she had been with. Saved her about $9,000. So yeah, he's good. He's
I've
good.
never gotten that answer from him.
What's that?
Last year I owed $8,000. Now I'm smelling a rat.
Yeah, maybe
He's shifting finances.
He is. He's shifting the liability. You're paying $8,000 in taxes.
That's why I'm a Republican. I had to pay $8,000 on top of everything else I paid over the year.
Don't they take money
I
out of
paid
you?
over
Do they take
$70,000 in taxes last year.
Yeah, that's
True
a way,
American, Jim.
That's a way of bragging about how much money you made.
I'm
isn't it?
so poor.
That's how.
The rainbow comes in black and white in my neighborhood.
Yeah. How are things at the yacht club?
I love the little soap. You got the quick little bomb and you run away.
What do you mean?
Just like
What do you
throwing
mean?
hand grenades, don't you?
I'm
Just
going.
running
I
away.
gotta go.
I'm going to defend Jim. The yacht club is a series of kayaks in a pond.
We have actually.
We actually call it the Redneck Yacht Club. That's what kind of yacht. It's on a pond, Dave.
I've seen the yacht club. It's not on a pond. It's not on a pond. It's in a lake. Small lake.
Yeah,
Tiny
but
lake
most
with
yacht clubs are on the ocean.
some yacht clubs are on the open, but
money.
not
The
this
big
one.
money yachts.
This one is just the big money yacht
We're the
clubs.
wheel working people. We've got police officers, painters, local construction.
ML
guys.
Carr.
ML Carr occasionally. That was to meet the diversity quota.
Here's what I like. ML Carr joined the yacht club for a year, and after a year, ML had enough.
Yeah.
He's like, he probably went in thinking, oh, this will be a nice place with nice people. And he probably after a year, he's like, I'm good.
When you tell someone you have a boat, generally you're not carrying it under your arm. That's all I'm saying.
So
That in 30 episodes of how that was the funniest thing on this.
that is pretty good. I like
good.
that one. So I don't want to talk about Nardizzi because I want to get into.
No, but you had a question about Nardizzi because Paul had some
Fine.
comments about
Here's-
Nardizzi.
Well, here's the
earlier
thing. We
today.
talked about Nardizzi. Remember we talked about Nardizzi last week?
The squirrel.
I did. I'm glad you repeated his name because I thought he said Nazi, and I was going in a totally different direction. I was like,
Nardizzi the squirrel.
I got home. I have a bag full of trash papers, and I thought that I could put them in a fire, and you can't put paper in a fire. It turns out, which is weird because all my life I've been starting fires in my fireplace with paper. But
let me just cut to Dale. Is this a Beverly law or a Mass law?
What's that?
no,
starting
you
fires?
can't. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's not that you can't start a fire with it. You
In
just
Beverly,
can't.
it's legal.
You
I know
can't-
Not in
that.
general, in your house with papers.
I brought it over to my friend's house for his fire pit, and he just told me, blah, 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 you don't know how to start a fire yet.
You need a whole bunch of gas, and that's all you need, Dave. A little gas.
I'm not
I
trying
don't
to.
know the law, Paul. I don't know the
All right,
law.
I'm sorry to interrupt you because I know you were dozing off. You could tell I caught him unawares right there. didn't I?
Dale's a narcoleptic. We lose him every third sentence.
The point of the matter is, on my porch, in my condo, I have a bag, and I should have checked it out, but I don't know. Anyway, it's been out there pretty much all winter, and so I get out there after our Nardizzi episode, and I actually went to move the thing to kind of wrap it up and bring it down to the dumpster, and a squirrel jumped out. So I had to go, and as you know, I'm scared of everything.
Yes.
Particularly squirrels. who are small, quick, fierce biters.
Especially the German ones that are sort of dictatorish. Those are the worst.
Fierce biters, not Nazis. Nutsy. Anyway, so I had a close encounter with a squirrel, and now I'm trying to figure out whether or not it's a squirrel nest and whether or not I'm going to either kill the squirrels or get rabies, or at least have to get a rabies shot if I try to move my trash out of there for the spring.
You can't kill squirrels. You can't kill anything. If
What do
you
you mean?
kill them and anyone finds out you killed them, you're in huge trouble.
Yes, our listeners from PETA
Yeah.
are very
Oh,
concerned
listen,
right now.
I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to
What
squirrel.
they have a thing called a have-a-heart trap, and you could go down and get them. They're $36.
I have 2 of them. I can bring them in.
And what my grandfather used to do, he used to tie a rope on the have-a-heart trap. And when the squirrel would go in, he'd go down to the pond and drop the trap in the pond with the squirrel in it, wait 15 minutes, and then that was it. That's how he got rid of
He did not have a heart, in other words.
No, because he learned a lesson, and a neighbor learned a lesson. He painted the tail of a squirrel orange, and he released it 10 miles away. And it came
They come back.
5 days later.
Yeah, they are quick.
They come back.
I used to drive them
also-
out to Fitchburg. I live in Framingham.
You drive them out to Fitchburg, say don't come back.
Nobody
Because you
comes back.
gotta go over 30 miles or they will come back.
Did your
come
grandfather give him a stern talking to?
He used to call them sail squirrels. You know why?
Why?
When he brought them back, he'd sail them over the neighbor's fence.
That's horrible. I think it's against the law to relocate.
Yes, no, I was breaking the law.
Hold on, I'm going to talk to Dale. 'cause
Absolutely.
Dale
Dale,
might
Oh,
know
yeah, 'cause
something.
cops know everything. But go ahead.
Yeah, is it against the law to take a squirrel in a have-a-heart trap and relocate it?
In 30 years, never in my life did I ever hear anything about anyone caring about the life of a squirrel. Okay. Now, a dog or a cat or a young child, absolutely.
I
but
can
not a
answer this.
squirrel.
I can answer this. It is illegal because I've done it. And people told me you can catch them, but you can't move them. And I was moving them because I
Isn't that
didn't
a
want them
funny
in my,
thing?
they were under my solar
You
panels.
can't kill them. You can't relocate them.
Give them to me. I'll move them for you.
All right, thank you.
I don't mind.
You know what you do though is we live. I live on the Cape, and we have different areas. We have Hyannis, which is the lower income. Centerville is the middle income, and Oyster Harbors and Osterville's where all the rich people live.
That's my brother's got a
That's
house.
where you relocate all the wildlife to the rich people's neighborhood because they can afford to call the pet guy to remove them.
You would think hyenas would be the rich part, though. Isn't that a little weird?
Here's what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking you're in Osterville, right? You're a rich person in Osterville, and you're calling the cops, and you're like, "Yeah, there's a squirrel and I have a heart trap on my front lawn. Some guy just dropped him off."
I almost got caught transporting a squirrel because I would leave him in my car and I would forget they were in my car. And I'd be telling my sister, she'd be like, "Have you caught any squirrels lately?" And I'd be like, "Oh, geez, I'm glad you reminded me. I got one in the trunk. It's been there for 2 days." So I would always forget. So one day I'm talking to her and she would always ask me. I said, "Oh, you're right. I got one in the car." So I pulled in, I'll make this quick. I pulled into Holliston High School and they had just had an incident. So there was a cop at the entrance. They didn't want anyone coming in. So I pull in, I'm going to dump it at the field and I see him looking at me. So I'm like, I better just pretend I'm on my phone. Maybe like I was going to make a call and then I was going to get back and leave. And he comes running over. He says, "What are you doing here?" "I was just meeting a friend here." And he starts looking in my car. He says, you got someone in the back seat?" I'm like, I don't have someone in the back seat. I got a squirrel in the trunk. So it was quiet. You couldn't hear it, but he was convinced I had someone in the back seat. So he made me open the car because I had really tinted windows. And all he said was, "Your windows are illegal. You need to get the tint down." But he never checked the trunk. And I was like, good, because I had driven from Framingham.
Should have made him open the trunk. Here are the keys. That squirrel would have jumped right in his face.
Oh, it was inside the trap.
Oh, it was still in the trap.
Yeah, it was still in the trap. What do you think? He had a squirrel just in
listen,
the trunk?
Yeah.
I've come up with these conversations with Paul. I've come up with a name for a soccer team: the Drunken Disorderlies. From all of Paul's stories, right? I was hammered once with a squirrel in my trunk.
I will say as well that inside that trap over the course of 2 days, those things do damage to themselves. So that trap is not so user friendly.
24 hours. They need to be out of
They
the trap.
cut themselves on it and they're banging their head on it.
Oh, they're trying to get out.
Yeah, it's metal.
They're trying to get out.
So you
it's-
should get one, Dave.
I don't want to get one because here's the other thing. Here's what I also know. When you let him out of the trap, I just want to basically influence him out of there, and then he won't come back. I got to find
You gonna have a
peppermint.
conversation with him? How are you going to do that?
I'll talk to him for a while. He'll get tired. He'll leave. He'll leave. I'll tell him about soccer. I'll tell him about soccer.
I'll tell him about podcast.
I'll play him. Yeah, I'll play them. I'll do the podcast. I'll explain extra time and offside to him. I'll talk to him about how the season works. Well, we start whenever we feel like it, and we interrupt it about 17 times for various tournaments. And then when we're done with that, we end when we want to.
No. Then you tell him Paul will be in touch to have you as a guest.
All right, let's get down to the nuts and bolts.
I'll tell him that Paul will have him as a guest, and then he won't call.
That's what I'm saying. That he won't call. You'll never hear from him again. All right, back to soccer.
All right,
I think we have a start.
You know what, Paul? This is almost like when I was in high school, and I'd say, I almost went out with this girl. We almost had this guy on as an interview. We almost had that guy on.
I know, I suck. Can I say?
Yeah. All right. So, did Shall Joseph's team beat you?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, we were a startup at that point.
You could lie.
No, we were a startup. It was good. It was a good experience.
Was he a good coach?
I'm sure he was. I mean, you can't really tell when you're facing someone, but.
What would you go by?
Well, actually, sometimes you can because you adjust sometimes and you load your midfield and all of a sudden they're doing something else and you're like, what I did isn't his adjustment's working more than mine. You always want to be the team that they have to adjust to. But some coaches figure out he's going to have to adjust if I do this, and you're like, damn it, he's right.
I don't want to be chasing.
Yeah.
And speaking of bad coaching.
Yeah, there you go.
Subject.
That was wonderful the way you guys got onto that. Yeah, let's talk about alleged bad coaching. I saw the game, and we're talking about the CONCACAF game. The Revs go in, total goal tournament. They're up 3-0. So all they've really got to do is lose by 2 or better. And they lost by 3. They went into the shootout, and they lost the shootout. I got to tell you, the goalie for the Revs in the shootout looked a little bit like Jim Ruberti, except for the one ball that he saved. But it was an exciting finish because it was 3-0. But boy, I thought the Revolution was clearly the inferior team. Jim thinks it's coaching. Paul, you're going to take the other side of this?
Yeah, but Jim, you go first.
Okay.
Right, now, let me ask you this. Do you really believe this, or are you just taking the opposition?
I disagree with what Jim's saying.
Yeah,
all right, go ahead, Jim.
So those of you who are listening.
Nobody's still listening, Jim. After your nutsy talk and all your nonsense.
Revolution go to Mexico, literally up 3-0. That's what that means. They have 3 goals. Their competitor, Mexico, needs to outscore the Revolution by 3. If they score 3, it goes into penalty kicks. So those of you who watch the New England, I'll give you a little football analogy. If you watch the Patriots-Atlanta Falcons Super Bowl, those of us who root for the Revolution, who live for soccer, we felt like Atlanta Falcons fans after that game. It was like having a 28-3 lead in the fourth quarter and losing. It's exactly what it felt like. And I feel when I say coaching, I think they should have played a shell the whole game. I think they should have had conversations with all their forwards, who played horribly, by the way. They should have told them, only one of you is going forward. If you want to score in a quick transition, that's wonderful. We don't need goals today. We're up 3-0, like a regular game. We need to play defense. I'm going to go with 5 defenders, 3 middies, and 2 forward. And you forwards aren't going to go beyond midfield unless you really have to. And you keep all the balls to the outside. They scored a goal inside the 6-yard box.
Yep.
That cannot happen when you're up 3-0. It can't. It can't. You keep the balls outside. They weren't the inferior team. They weren't ready to play. They lost every 50-50 ball that I saw. Time of possession was almost 2-1. And when they decided to go into their shell, Dave, it was 3-2 already.
Right.
Too late. Way too late.
So is the problem that they were in they were in the wrong formation, or is this the problem that they were lousy, or was the problem that they were outclassed athletically?
I think they weren't ready to play.
Okay.
They were outplayed in that specific game. But you can be outplayed in a game when you have a 3-0 lead and still win that game.
Right.
I think it should have started from the time that plane landed in Mexico. Here's our game plan. I'm going 5 defenders, and I'm going to put the extra defenders that I'm bringing in are going to be our fastest players. I'm going to go with 3 ball control midfielders. I'm going to go with 2 forwards, but one of the forwards we're going to play an I formation, meaning you're going to have a striker in front and probably a wing behind him, almost like a stopper. They're going to have to work that way with overlaps, and everybody comes back.
I can't figure out.
I don't know. To me, it's basic. It's basic big lead strategy.
Yeah.
You can't do it halfway through a game.
But, if your team's not ready to play, I get it. I mean, there are certain teams that you see and they're not ready to play and they don't look that good. But in this case, boy, they just looked like they were just not, they didn't look very quick. They didn't look like, they didn't look very quick, and they got beaten to balls, and they didn't look as skilled. And, some of the goals were fairly nice and some of the goals were.
And remember, you didn't have Turner in that either. You got a new goaltender and a very It shouldn't have been a pressure situation. After the first goal, still not a pressure situation for that keeper.
Yeah.
The second goal, he's crapping himself on the field, which we saw when the ball went through his hands and into the net.
Right.
That was just, and that ball should have never, if he had played with 5 defenders, the ball would have never been in that 6-yard box. That shot would have never happened. So,
all right.
So Paul's going to be my,
Paul,
he believes that he would have played it that way.
So are you going to rebut this, or do you honestly believe that he's wrong? And if you honestly believe Jim's wrong, I'm fine with that on anything.
Well, first of all, Arena said that they pretty much parked the bus from the get-go. Okay. So he's saying they went into the shell late, but I feel like the Revs are saying we were kind of parking it early. We just gave up a ton of goals, which is even worse, I know, right? That's even worse.
I'm going to throw up on the table.
That you parked the bus and give up 3.
Get the red naps out. I'm throwing up on your control board.
So if that's true, that's 3 goals parked the bus. That's bad. But there are a couple excuses. They have 2 center backs out, and we said before the season in our preview, their bench is terrible. So Bell actually went to Twitter on Monday and apologized for his play in both Saturday's game and Wednesday. You don't see too many athletes doing that, just saying, I have to do better, I apologize to the fans. So he was self-admittedly bad, and Omar he's too slow. They're running in behind him.
Slow.
You mean,
what's his name? The winger. The winger.
Brandon By?
McNamara.
Oh, yeah.
Terribly slow. Like running is like...
Well, we said he shouldn't be...
He shouldn't be a forward where he is. Yeah. You know what? In that game... Ain't gonna hurt you being a forward in that game. You take whoever's fast and you put them in the back, and your whole game is to force them to the outside. Keep 2 guys in the inside just in case they get by, and just keep kicking. We've done this a million times.
Right, but if you're getting beat to so many balls, which they were, if they're playing ball control and if they're dominating you, do you want to dominate them on the whole? I mean, do you want to play them on the whole field, or do you want to play them in the half field?
I think you want them to do ball control. You want the other team to do ball control.
Yeah.
You'd love them to have ball control. Love them when you're up 3-0. What you don't want to do is lose the 50-50 balls. Meaning,
right.
I think they had 9 corners. They had 9 corners.
Right. They did have a lot of corners.
They did a lot of corners. Well, they were losing a lot of those corners.
But they were a much better team.
Again, though, the excuse is you've never played at that altitude. It's hard. So you say they weren't ready to play. I think it hit them right away. Like, this is hard to run in.
All the more reason to play in the half field.
You know something? Yeah. Here's another thing I got to wonder about. Could they have gone? I mean, do teams go early like they do in the NFL? Sometimes they'll go a couple days early to let
they do, and I would assume they did and practiced in it for sure.
I thought that they arrived like the day of the game.
They did.
That's what I thought
too. I think they had a game. Didn't the Revs have a game between Wednesday?
On the weekend, yeah.
Between Wednesday and that game, they had a game somewhere else.
You could still get there on Monday, and maybe I don't know.
I heard it was day of too, Dave, when they arrived. But that's even more the reason to play on the half field.
But to counter what he's saying, okay, I always say Seattle's the best team in the league.
Yeah.
Watch what they do. So they were up 3-0 as well. And they went down there, and Schmetzer said before the game, we would love to preserve the shutout. That's great. We're already up 3-0. But he said, if we can score a goal and really bury their spirit, we would rather do that. Yeah. And to me, that's sort of like the art of war. Okay, if I can quote Sun Tzu, make it impossible for the enemy to win. Make defeat impossible. So if you score, they need 5 goals, which in soccer is kind of unheard of. So Seattle, about 45 minutes into the game, takes their defensive mid, which would be our version of Polster, and has him run into the penalty box. They're not ready for it. He's cutting by a guy. They trip him, PK. They score. It's 1-0 right before half. The game's over. So I would rather have, instead of parking the bus, I would say we have the best player on the field, Carlos Heel. We should create some chances. Let's try to score that goal and just bury these guys. They would have needed 2 more goals if we could have scored 1.
Yeah.
Take the fight to them. And I think in the league as well, I saw a stat the other day. This blew me away. Carlos Heel last year had the most chances created in MLS history.
Yeah.
He missed 10 parts of 10 or entire games last year. Wow. 10 games. Yeah. So he would have obliterated that record. So the Revs should be taking it to every single team they play. They should play with 3 backs, 4 mids, and 3 forwards and just say outscore us. Why are we playing with 2 forwards? And why are we parking the bus up 3-0? Score 1 goal with the best player in the field.
How'd that work out for us?
We didn't try against Charlotte.
But how'd that work out against Mexico?
We have 2 forwards. We need 3 forwards.
We don't have 3 forwards.
Well, we need to buy a winger.
We don't have a forward.
We need to buy a winger.
Yes.
And we need to ask Bo whether he likes it or not, to be a winger for right now.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Their best chance to score was him as a winger. Remember, he beat the guy and he sent it over to...
But that goes to my theory, though. You have only 2 forwards. Play defensive. They gave up that first goal, and you could feel it immediately.
Yeah, that hurt.
Really hurt. And it wasn't a great goal. I'm sorry.
Well, let's look at the errors in the goals, too. The first goal, first of all, when I went to the game in the snow, I said to my kids, Farrell is putting out fires left and right back. He's great. He's a messy, sloppy player with the ball, but he just puts out everything.
He does.
So when that guy got that ball and he took that little touch turn, if Farrell's on him, he's moving him away from the ball. He's not going to foul him, but he's going to be on him. Bell's got separation. He gets the turn. It's in the net.
It was in the net.
And that was Omar too slow to the ball as well.
And all you need, Dave, is seriously 3 yards for these forwards to change a whole defensive pattern and score a goal. It's that tight with how good these players are.
Right.
But my theory would be there would have been a guy right behind him.
Yeah.
He could make that first move to beat the first guy and get another defender, almost like a sweeper in every direction.
Yeah.
Almost like you know what I mean?
And then the second goal, the guy gets the ball wide and Bell runs out. Okay, this is amateur stuff.
Yeah.
He should be stanced so the guy can't put it through his legs. He comes out flat. The guy puts it through his legs.
Nutmegs him.
And again, Omar's beat to the ball. He's not bodying him.
Nope.
2 goals.
Yeah.
The third goal,
don't even.
Brandon By heads the ball. He would have been better off if he headed it straight in the air.
Right.
Because then he could have fought for a second one. But he heads it to the guy's foot, which is a dream because that guy he had been frustrated all game. By was getting in his head. He was yelling at heel to get up on a foul and throwing balls at people. And he gets the ball in his foot and fires it, and then they sub him out. Gift.
Yeah.
Through the hands.
I tell you this.
That was the one he
Turner keeper.
Yeah.
That third goal, the second goal, I thought, looking at it from the goalkeeper's perspective, I thought, that's the kind of goal that looks bad, but it's actually the speed of it. The speed of it can make you look bad.
It was 50-50.
That third goal, it's almost like you watch a team play and you watch 2 teams play and you see the momentum, you see the wheels coming off the bus. Yeah. And at that point, the wheels were coming off the bus and it was inevitable that they were going to score. And it's probably one of these goals that, the guy ripped the shot, but he heads the ball down instead of head the ball up. Even I know that. You don't head the ball onto somebody's feet.
Yeah, or even head it out of bounds for a corner, which is not great, but at that point, you'll take it.
And that's an example, Dave, of a 50-50 ball going the wrong way.
I think it's also an example where you've given up the momentum, and now it's going to suddenly, the field has been tilted in the wrong direction for you. And
remember, we were all texting each other, and I think to a person we said, this game is over.
Yeah. Yeah.
PKs, we just knew it was over. And that
I think you've got a bad idea about PKs from your own. I think you've suffered some trauma, post-traumatic stress disorder.
Oh my God, I got to try to save 1 out of 5.
Probably not as bad as your teammates. Teammates probably suffered more post-traumatic stress disorder.
You're very nasty today. I hope that squirrel sticks around and bites you in the balls.
Being a REVS fan is great, but it is a lot like being a Red Sox fan in the 80s or a Patriots fan before they went on that winning streak. So you got historic losses. I actually today went back and watched the Houston game, just the end of it, because I forgot exactly what happened. So listen to this. They play in 3 finals. They've never scored in the finals, right? Yep. Shutout, and then this game goes all the way into the 120th minute. Twellman gets a nutmeg pass, comes in and shoots with his left foot and scores. Yep. And they put up on the screen, first goal in the finals in 346 minutes for this franchise. So they're up 1-0. It's almost over. It's going to be this thing he hates, the extra time. Yeah. The other team literally scores on the kickoff. Yeah. Out to the wing, chip it in, and he scores, and then they lose in the shootout.
Like literally a 101 high school play off the kickoff.
Yeah, kick it out wide, serve it in. My striker's running down the middle. No, so it was 1-1. They lost in a shootout.
Yeah, they lost.
And then you got this thing. Then you got the Supporters Shield, which is a great season, and they did win a trophy. But then that NYC game was crushing because you thought they were going to go. They were going to go far.
Well, you at least thought they'd contend.
Yeah,
to the end, to near the end.
Right.
And then the throwing up on themselves continued the other night.
Right.
Oh, against the expansion Charlotte? Yes.
Oh. Well, this is there are two questions there. I'll say this. This is how they're also like the Red Sox. I think we'll agree that they're a lot more, even if they're losing at the end, like they did so often when Twellman was here and they had the disappointment last year, that's a lot better than that middle period where
some franchises never get there. I'm not complaining.
It was not fun to watch for a while. Yeah. It was still fun to go. but the actual soccer on the field was just kind of listless. And I think maybe it's just, when you can't score, you're not that interesting to watch, but they just weren't that good a team. So I'd rather have them be really good and disappointing than have them be boring.
Yeah.
And
It's almost like the Red Sox when Bob Stanley used to come in relief, and you just knew it was over.
The steamer.
Stanley was
Steamer.
Steamer.
I like Stanley.
That's a good reference.
But you know what I mean? It's almost like you're getting down to the end of the game. Like the Red Sox, you're just waiting for it. A referee call, a nutmeg play, the goalie trips on his shoelaces and the ball goes in. You just know what's coming.
Yeah.
And it gets really frustrating. Then to blow that game and to turn on and I see that they're down 3-1 to Charlotte, I'm like, boy, are we...
Well, I liken your guy, Altidore, to a headliner who's dirty, who's asked to work clean at a corporate show, and he bombs.
I'm losing all faith in Josie Altidore. He used to be one of my favorite players.
I don't know if you noticed, but now he's starting to play sort of the false nine, where he's supposed to be up front, but he's dropping back into the midfield to get the ball. Right? Yeah, he's like even with heel.
You know who does that, right? The person who has zero confidence.
Well, yeah,
zero offensively, or want to be responsible for a goal.
Right, or they're good enough that they can start the play in there and then sprint by the defender and get on the end of that same play and score a goal.
Yes.
But he's not that guy.
He does not have that speed.
Stick to your dirty material and stay up front and just muck for a goal if you can.
He should be the Wayne Cashman.
Yeah.
Of the Revolution.
Yeah.
The old Wayne Cashman did.
I know Wayne Cashman is.
The old hack. And
it's so
funny. Just sit in front, get the cheap goal that goes in. That's what Josie Altidore.
He did score against Charlotte.
He did. He did
on
get
a double header.
On a double header. He did.
Yeah. You have to score in a double header.
You have to score.
Like, as you're a goalie, right? A double header goes in every time. You can't contend with two headers.
No.
So that was but I'll give him credit. He scored, but he's not playing well. He's slow. He looks big. They better get a winger.
You're gonna get the.
I didn't think Buchanan was as good as I. Now that he's gone, I realize we need a fast one-on-one player on the outside.
Goalie.
But that's going to happen.
It's early.
That's going to get addressed.
A better keeper. We just do. It's just frustrating. I sound like a very frustrated soccer fan because it is frustrating.
You know what's the best thing about this conversation? And whenever you two get into it about soccer, I appreciate you mentioning the Wayne Cashman for me to drop something in that I'd recognize.
I saw your face get all happy when I said Wayne Cashman.
Here's the thing that I think was most enjoyable is when I look over at Dale. And I just see his eyes rolling back on the back of his head, and he's trying to stay away.
I'm doing my best, Dave. I'm doing my best.
I know people aren't here and they can't witness a podcast, right? If we were on TV doing this podcast, but I keep looking over at the window pane of Dale's office here, and I keep seeing a local registrant's certificate of death, and there's a whole stack of them. And I don't know if they're filled out yet, so that's what makes me concerned.
That's Dale's hobby.
That's Dale's hobby.
I sell counterfeit death certificates. So if someone in your family goes missing, give me name, date of birth, and we'll claim that they're dead.
After this past weekend, I may need one for you to send to my wife.
Dale, if we get REVS tickets, will you come?
Absolutely, I'll go.
See if you like the game.
Oh, you might like. Wait.
I'll go. I'm worried about Dave wanted to go.
Oh, listen. Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point. It depends on how many I've already gone to this season. I've got a limit. You know what I was thinking about when you guys were talking soccer, when you get deep into it? I actually looked over at you guys talking, and I looked at Jim, and I thought, oh, he's growing a mustache. And I hadn't noticed it before. Are you growing a mustache?
No, this is how long this podcast has been. I was clean shaven when I started.
I think if we were at the REVS, we would be watching, and Dave would be up talking to people that work at Gillette saying,
he'd be talking all the
any chance you could introduce me to Nutsy?
Yeah.
Does anyone know who Nutsy is?
I'd probably be up there saying, how much for a beer? How much for a beer?
I think he's going to be selling death certificates, to be honest with you, from the stack I see over there.
Oh, listen, let me tell you this. Dale and I will go down to the field every time a player from another team goes by him and they fall in the field with their arms flapping and down they go screaming in pain. Dale can say, "Hey, you want to buy a death certificate?"
No, definitely the four of us have to go to. I mean, we're going to a Celtics game together, which is not quite the same thing, but we're definitely going to a Revolution.
We'll see how you three behave at the Celtics, and then I'll decide if I want to go to a soccer game.
To be honest with you, I've been to probably 3.
3
live
Rev
Revolution
games?
games. 3 live. And every single time I loved it and said, I got to come back. Just said I'm on the Cape. It happens during times that I don't want to leave the Cape. But if you guys go,
which is when?
I'll leave almost every day.
Listen, it's almost every time. It's February
Especially
now.
Mondays at
It's
4.
actually March. It's March. We're in spring now. You can actually go and it's almost in season.
It's beautiful out. See, this would be a good time to watch a game. But we better transition into
This afternoon will be a good time, and tonight will be horrible when it gets cold again.
Exactly.
All right. So we have any other topics?
Paul's ready to go.
Yeah, let's just see if we can predict who's going to win the treble.
Yep.
I have to explain the treble, Mr. Rattigan?
Why don't you explain it to all of our listener out there?
The treble is you win the Urethra League, as you call it, which is the Super Bowl.
Yep, the Super Bowl.
You win the league.
Yep.
That's 2 titles.
Okay.
And then you win the cup. So in England, they have the FA Cup. I'm sure you've heard of the FA Cup.
Yep.
German, they call it the Super Cup, the German Cup, whatever, in Copa del Rey in Spain. So anyways, Bayern is still eligible in all 3. Liverpool has a chance to win all 3, and Man City has a chance to win all 3. Any thoughts, Jim, as to will anyone do it?
Mine's gone.
Your team's gone.
My team
Absolutely.
got flushed already.
And what's it called again?
Honestly,
Well, when you do that, it's called winning the treble. So Messi did
treble.
it, and Beckham did it. I don't know if anyone's other than the last 20 years has done it. It's really hard.
If we were
rooting
speaking-
for Liverpool, if I was going to root for any of
Me
those
too.
teams.
I think Liverpool's a wagon.
Liverpool's got the shot.
Yeah.
If we were speaking in English, it would be called the triple.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I just want to point
The
that
reason
out.
it's hard to do, and you can see this, look how bad all the MLS teams that are in CONCACAF are doing. They're struggling.
Really
NYC
badly.
just lost the other day.
He did. I didn't see
They got
that.
shut out. So it's because you're tired. You're trying to win 3 things at the simultaneously playing all these games. But I agree. Liverpool is so strong.
And to win those 3 is just. When's the last time it was done?
I think it was Messi's Barcelona team with Xavi, who we spoke about, and they are now on fire. He's a great coach.
Don't get him going on Xavi.
I'll just say this, just because I feel I should inject something into this.
Sure, inject all you want.
It's like winning the Triple Crown.
It is like winning the Triple
Crown.
Yes.
It's hard.
Rare. It's rare.
It's hard.
It's rare, and it's more difficult than winning the Triple Crown. in
2
baseball.
sports that I know nothing. Oh, it's not the Triple Crown. It's so funny. I was the Triple
You thinking
Crown.
of
in-
horses?
I was thinking of the Triple Crown in racing. Yeah,
Well, that's been done a few times lately.
I know.
Got good drugs for the horses now.
Yeah. Good point. All right, fine. It's a bad analogy.
You have
I don't even think it was an analogy. I think it was a metaphor.
You have several of those.
What's that?
You have several of those.
All right. Anything else, Paul?
Before we get to Tabloid, you mean?
Yeah.
No, just, again, really... the REVS guy, who I speak to often, that sells me tickets, he called me the next day.
Yeah.
And I just said, I don't mean to be an a-hole, but call me when they win. I'm not in the mood for buying tickets right now.
Did you say to him? Did you say I'm a bandwagon jumper? Call me when they
I think
win.
he inferred that. But
He probably
you can't
did.
call me the day after a 3-0 collapse and say, hey, what's your credit card?
We should have asked Seth if he could have gotten us tickets in the non-conservative section of the stadium.
You wouldn't sit there.
Exactly.
That's it. Oh, so here's my question: are the Revs any good, or are they not any good? Because I've seen them a couple of times this year, and I've thought, geez, they're going to be great this year. They're going to build on last year, and they're actually going to do that very unusual thing in the MLS is that they'll have it to follow up a great season with another great season. And then I see them other times, and I'm like, they don't even look like the same team. So which are they?
So, again, if you take, so last year, they're pretty much the same team, but if you take away Buchanan, which is, 8 goals?
Yep.
I feel like Buxa and Bo's 30 whatever goals were a lot because you had to really focus on Buchanan on the outside. So when you lose him, I feel like they're going to score less. And we're already seeing it. I know it's a small data sample, but we have 4 games in, and Buxa and Bo has no goals. So that's why I think they really need to get. My son knows way more soccer than me. All summer long, he says, "Are they really going to go into the season with this lineup?" I said, "Why? They get legit." But he says, "You need a winger." And now I'm watching and I'm realizing you need a winger.
Okay. Why don't they have a winger?
Beats me. I mean,
Okay.
I watch. I'm an MLS junkie. I watched 4 games this weekend. So I was watching LAFC. They have this Uruguayan kid, and the announcer said he leads the league in turnovers, but he's out there because he creates goals, and they're willing to put up with his turnovers.
Yeah.
And then I watch these other teams. They all have wingers. They have wingers coming off the bench that are better than guys that we have starting. We don't really even have. Boateng's probably our closest version of a winger who will take people on and can cross the ball, but he never plays. Yeah. They never play him.
I think what you're saying is a combination of what Paul's saying, new keeper, and a hangover from last year.
You think it's a hangover?
I think it's a little bit of a hangover. I think they're going to be fine.
How much of it is not having Turner? Would they have won that game with Turner?
100%.
The Mexico game?
Mexico
or the
game.
Charlotte?
100%. They would have won that game in Mexico. 100%. Has so much control back there. Gives confidence to the defenders. 100%.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think if we had Charlie
ugly win, but yeah.
It would have been an ugly win, but I think if we had Charlie on here, I know he wouldn't agree, but there'd be an awful long pause after we asked the question.
Yeah.
And I think this Charlotte game is a hangover from that game. And I don't care who you had in net against Charlotte, they were going to lose that game.
Yeah.
All right. So Turner comes back, and then Turner leaves in the midseason. So what happens to the Revs? I mean, can they pick up a top-rate goalie?
Well, he's hurt now. So I don't know if he's going to be any help to that. I don't know have you heard any updates on?
I don't know how hurt he is, but I mean, Twellman's tweeting that they're going to get Horvath.
Yeah, see, that's huge. I mean, that's trading a king for a king.
Oh,
I think you can get him. But right now, David, you played soccer. Just think about it. If you're questioning, you're a defender, and you're questioning the ability or capability of your goaltender behind you, the pressure it puts on you as a defender, and that creates more problems.
Right.
It just creates more problems. You start to become more timid. You don't want to make a mistake. You end up making a mistake.
But aren't you?
Starts from the back as a goalie. I know you disagree, but it starts from there and moves forward.
So in other words, if you've got your backup goaltender in, if you're not if you don't think he can be a number one,
you go with 5 defenders.
You go with 5 defenders, unless you're Bruce Arena, who's not doing that, right?
Correct. He's not doing that.
Yeah.
And I'll give you your hockey analogy. I mean, you don't think the Bruins play different with Ullmark in net than they do with Swayman?
They
do. They play more. If you take a look at shots on goal, when Ullmark is in net compared to Swayman, the Bruins are less. There's more shots. There's less shots on goal when Ullmark is in net than there is with Swayman.
Okay.
Because the Bruins are taking more and more chances with Swayman in net than with Ullmark. And that could go the same thing for soccer. When you're not confident, you become a defensive team. You look for a 1-0, 2-1 final.
Yeah.
You don't go through 3 forwards.
Well, all these things are connected because when you don't have wings, you rely on By and Jones to get forward and cross.
That's right.
By is a horrible crosser. Crossing's hard. I mean, there aren't great crosses all over the world. It's a hard skill. But the fact that they're up there means when the team counters, you already have 2 center backs who are backups, and your wing backs are up front.
Yep.
So you're going to give up goals. So get a winger. Spend some cash.
So basically, based on what you two are saying, the Revs are terrible, and this is horrible.
No.
Jim, they're in a little bit of trouble.
He said,
The East got strong. Chicago got good.
No, I know. I just think it's a hangover, early season hangover from
I hope
winning
you're
the
right.
Shield, CONCACAF, Dave's urethra, stuff like that. No, I just think this is just one of these little dips. They're going to come out of it, and it's Arena. Thank God we have Bruce Arena for a coach, because if anybody can do it, he's going to do it.
You think he's going to do it? All right.
Absolutely.
We'll see. We'll see if he does. I wonder if
You don't want to win the Shield again.
I tell you this. There's a lot of talk.
Is good.
There's been a lot of talk today about the MLS. I wonder if there's anything else going on in the whole wide world of soccer. Paul?
Yes, we had a game last week between Everton and Newcastle.
Everton and Newcastle.
And a man, I believe his last name is McKechnie.
Okay.
Nice Irish lad, ran on the field. And by the way, 3 days before, someone ran on the field during a Liverpool game, and he tried to grab the post with his hands and lock himself. And the cops came and said, "We're taking you away. You can't be out here." So this guy said, "I'll do you one better. I'll chain myself to the goalpost with some type of strip wire that connects." And they had to bring bolt croppers out to cut this guy off. And to Dave's chagrin, the extra time that was allotted for this is when the team scored a goal to win the game.
That's right.
So he cost his team the game by...
I don't know who he was rooting for, but the home team won.
So somebody won because this guy did this weird thing.
So here's the deal, Dave. We go to a game.
Yes.
And the Revolution are down 1-0 late.
Yeah.
You're running on the fucking field with some wire. We're going to tie you to the post.
You know what's the fun?
So we get some extra time.
That's a great plan.
But with you, your shorts will be down. We're just warning you now. It ain't going to be.
They'll be able to see his little nutsy.
You're going to be al fresco out there.
So this guy was protesting evidently oil fields in the North Sea.
Oh.
Okay, I've never heard of the North Sea, so I'll give him an A for geography.
Doesn't it make you just want to drill everywhere when you hear stories like this?
I give him a D for planning.
Yes.
Because if you're going to run out in the field, you don't attach yourself to something and say, "Okay, cops, here I am." You're supposed to elude them, right?
No getaway car.
Maybe he can't elude him. Maybe he was making a statement.
Yeah, but make your statement, wear your shirt, get it, and then get out of it.
But how does that make a statement? How does that make a statement? He strapped himself to the goal.
Disrupted the game. I guess you're
disrupt the game. How long did it take to get rid of him? Like 2 minutes?
No, it took like 8 or 9 minutes. That's why there was so much extra.
Because they couldn't find the wire cutters.
I would have stopped the clock.
And even with them, it was really hard.
Oh, it was bolt cutters. They needed bolt cutters.
Because it was hurting him, too. This was like a struggle to do this and not injure. I would have injured him, but I wasn't operating the cutters.
What you do is you get all the teams. You stop the clock. You agree to stop the clock, both teams.
Yeah.
Everybody grab a ball, and you go 4 yards away from the kid, and each player gets to blast him the soccer ball.
The key's
then,
in my back
as he's
pocket.
limp and hanging, then you can undo him and get him out of
But so since he was an advancement of the previous guys, what's the next step in the progression? What does the next guy do? Does he blow solder himself to the goalposts? I mean,
how about you handcuff yourself to the keeper?
You run up to the keeper.
Click, click. Yeah. That's what you do. I'd still give up a penalty shot, even with 2 of us.
You not only would you give up the PK,
or leg irons. Put leg irons on you in the forward.
Listen, you could not only would you give up the PK, but the protester would be complaining because you cost them
too much.
Yeah, whatever. Somehow you'd be the reason they gave up the PK, and the protester would. I had it all lined up, and he shoved me out of the way.
You're making me think. I'm going to go back and watch the REVS because my eyesight's not great. Maybe Omar had someone chained to him. That's why he was so slow.
Oh, he looked like he had someone chained to him. Absolutely. Well, this was great. We had so many guests on today, Dave. You handled it well. All the questions.
I got to tell you this. It was so much fun for me to listen to you two talking about soccer and then just looking across at Dale, blinking his eyes, trying to stay awake, slapping himself in the face.
He just filled out his own death certificate during that podcast. Death by cruel and unusual punishment.
All right. So next week, join us next week. And our guest who's our guest next week, Paul?
Who do we have not coming in next week?
Yeah.
Nutsy.
So we'll be talking.
Read the death certificate behind you. Get that person.
I am positive I get nutsy.
Next week we'll be talking to Bruce Arena. So be sure to join us next week when we're not talking to Bruce Arena. That's it for this episode of Soccerheads New England. We'll be back next week. I would like to thank financial advisor Rick Spencer. Call him at 978-857-7573, and soon you too will live like Jim Ruberti, with servants willing to give you a flea bath once a week. Don't forget, for fundraising, the Soccerheads experience for your soccer team, league, club, or whatever, the Soccerheads will make your fundraiser more than a show. We'll make it an experience. For Paul Nardizzi and Jim Ruberti, I'm Dave Rattigan, and our engineer, Dale Lawrence. This has been Soccerheads New England.